Like it or not, folks, summer has entered its home stretch. Autumn is creeping up on us. And maybe it'll be some kids laughing on the block, or a school bus passing you by that will start it up. But one way or another, the nostalgia of summers past eventually will hit you. I call it my last of the summer wine moment, filled with memories that always show up when you least expect it and never quite want to go away. In recent years, without fail, there's one particular movie I will always find myself returning to whenever that nostalgia hits. Specifically, its main theme. To take us into this lost tape, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tatsuro Yamashita. Juvenile, also known as Juvenile Boys Meet the Future, is a 2000 sci-fi adventure film in the spirit of flicks like Explorers or The Goonies, minus the gritty edge of the 1980s. It was the first directorial outing for Takashi Yamazaki, now a household name after hits like Stand By Me Doraemon, Lupin the First, the Always trilogy, and the recently announced Godzilla Minus One. Set in the year 2000, we meet four friends who, while at a summer camp, encounter a strange robot named Tetra, who immediately recognizes one of them, the young timid Yusuke, and quickly becomes friends. But Tetra's arrival could not have come at a better moment. In the background, a shadowy alien race is poised to begin their plans for domination of the planet and its resources. Suffice to say, things escalate quickly. Now, Juvenile, as much as I love it, isn't exactly a perfect movie, and it's a bit rough in some areas. Case in point, how it handles the characters. Yusuke and Tetra's relationship is proof positive. We're supposed to be rooting for them and feeling for their getting closer, but there just aren't really enough moments that show that bond becoming organic. That's not to say it doesn't stick the landing, and by the end of the flick you will easily be wanting all the best possible things for Tetra, largely due to Megumi Hayashibara's performance as the character doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And really, that's a testament to both Yamazaki as a director and Hayashibara as a top-notch actress in being able to pull that off in spite of having very few lines. There are some fun, familiar faces throughout Juvenile, such as Shingo Katori from SMOP, and yes, we'll talk more about his inclusion in a little bit. It was a big deal. Miki Sakai also shows up in the movie, who would appear years later as the possessed Gaara in Kamen Rider O's Wonderful. Kinzo Sakura, the poor junkyard worker who is terrorized by our young heroes, may also strike a chord with Ultraman Dyna fans, as he played one of the three Miji aliens across episodes 13, 30, and the direct-to-video Return of Hanajiro special. You can even see Kazue Tsunogae basically being the archetype she played in Gamera Guardian of the Universe. She'd later play Yui Kanzaki's aunt in Kamen Rider Yuki, and show up in Fi's Paradise Lost, Garo Beast of the White Knight, and Garo's spin-off Goldstorm Show. Oh, fun aside, Yusuke's kid actor, Yuya Endo, he'd later end up becoming a member of D-Boys, and would make a name for himself playing the second Ryoma in the Prince of Tennis musicals from 2004 to 2005. Okay, let's pull up from the trivia here. Like I said, Juvenile isn't a perfect movie, but one of the biggest issues for some has had some interesting consequences in recent years. By that I refer to how unfortunately dated the movie is. Right away, Juvenile CGI is clearly of its time and would more than likely be described nowadays by some as looking like PlayStation 1 FMV footage. I mean, even the aliens who are supposed to walk the line between menacing and funny fall into this kind of uncanny valley struggle. But in their case, I feel that's just more to do with the fact that the filmmakers didn't want to just straight up traumatize the kids watching this. But even in spite of any setbacks, including a moment where the CG effects actually clip, the sequences in Juvenile are absolutely amazing to watch. The visual effects for Juvenile were handled by Shirogumi, with backup by Robot and Imagica. Shirogumi's work goes as far back as House in 1977, handling that movie's visual design, and also includes special effects on the original Echo Echo Azarak, Sweet Home, the Tomoki Hero Rescue Force movie, the live-action space battleship Yamato, and recent work on Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider. The advertising for Juvenile talked up how the visual effects were on Hollywood level, with over 300 cuts or effect shots. At the time, that was still impressive. It becomes even more impressive when you find out that Juvenile was originally going to be a much smaller scale film, itself being a reduction of what was originally going to be a much larger yokai-focused feature codenamed Niue, which reportedly would have cost over 3 billion yen. But the president of Robot ultimately pushed for Juvenile to have a 500 million yen budget, a nationwide theatrical deal, and also would secure Shingo Katori in the cast, which ultimately got more eyes on the project. But the special effects aren't the only thing that dates Juvenile. Throughout the entire movie, there's product placement and all sorts of mentions of things like Pokemon, PlayStation, Lawson convenience stores, or a plot point because actress Ann Suzuki was filming a commercial campaign with them at the time. Even Gun Gillian, the movie's big giant robot MacGuffin, which is probably painfully obvious already without me telling you, is a mashup of Gundam and then revolutionary anime Neon Genesis Evangelion. Juvenile is a movie that is rooted in early 2000s Japanese pop culture. But watching it in 2023, it hits differently. Because ultimately, the volume of the references throughout the movie compacted and turned the whole thing into a pitch-perfect period piece. I wish, however, I could say the same about the back half of the movie, which takes place in the then-distant future of 2020. Oh, another fun aside, Takashi Yamazaki did actually want to go back and film a complete version of Juvenile with the child actors grown up so that way they match the time period. It's a really fun idea. It would have been so cool, but unfortunately, the pandemic killed it, which is a damn shame. At the end of Juvenile's credits, there is a dedication to Fujiko F. Fujio, the creator of the anime and manga classic Doraemon. When you think about it, Juvenile at its core is basically an alternate reality Doraemon movie. Seriously, the needlessly confrontational Toshi is basically giant. Yusuke is a slightly less pathetic version of Nobita. Tetra lives in Yusuke's closet. They even mention Doraemon's time machine and an exposition dump. It's all right there. I mean, hell, the finale is basically the Doraemon finale doujinshi that stoked up a storm back in the day. And reportedly, its inclusion was due to a deal with Yamazaki and Fujiko Productions, which in turn was kind of a gambit by them, allegedly, to solidify that doujinshi's place as a non-canon event. But this inclusion really makes Juvenile all the more meaningful. Just as the kids have their big full circle moment, Yamazaki as a director would come full circle to paying the ultimate tribute to Doraemon with Stand By Me Doraemon and its sequel. Both films revolving around the quote-unquote official finale storyline, and also tugging at the heartstrings in the best way possible. And really, I think that's Juvenile's biggest success as a film. Even with all the bits that are rough around the edges, even with the effects that were maybe just a little too ambitious, it still manages to tell a really fun story. If it was not evident already, I really love this movie, guys. I really think you'll love it too, and I absolutely recommend tracking down Juvenile if you can. The best part is that the Region 2 DVD is still floating around. You can get it at CD Japan or on Amazon Japan, and it's got English subtitles. When it's all said and done, the only real negative criticism I have about Juvenile as a movie, they never made any Tetra merchandise. Seriously, I love the little guy and I just want to take him home with me. And as it turns out, while I was editing this, I found out that our little friendo may not exactly be down and out just yet. Because last year, before being announced as the director for Godzilla Minus One, Takashi Yamazaki directed a film adaptation of Ghost Book, released internationally as Yokaipedia. According to an interview, when working on the film and coming onto the set of the lead character's house for the first time, Yamazaki thought, wouldn't it be great to see Tetra here? And sure enough, he went all in. He actually got Yuya Endo and Ann Suzuki to come back for the movie to play the parents of the lead character of Ghost Book. But instead, their names were those of their characters from Juvenile. And the best part is a familiar friend also joined them for the ride. In the article that announced their inclusion, Yamazaki likened his time on Juvenile to a childhood summer memory. It's like I said, sometimes those memories of summer just hit you when you least expect it, and they sure as hell never want to go away.